Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Apron Bumps, episode 5, but again, yet another, our second pay-per-view review of WrestleMania 36, Night 2. The show just got off the air maybe about 15 minutes ago, and me and my wonderful collaborator and co-host, Mr. Gabe Nozid, about to go over the card. But how'd you feel here tonight on Night 2 for WrestleMania, Gabe? Good night for you again?
Let's see. WrestleMania Night 2. I still had that WrestleMania feel, but coming from Night 1, I would have rather had that one instead of this one, but we'll get to why once we get to the matches.
Yeah, we'll kind of break all that down. So we're just going to get right into it. They showed the same video package at the beginning that they did for Night 1. It was literally the exact same opening promo, but you can't really blame them. Yeah, it was, but that if it was just a traditional show in front of a stadium, they would have showed it just one time. So I mean, it's all good to use the same thing twice. I mean,
well, since I didn't see it last night, I thought it was kind of funny, so I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was very well done, and it's the one they used last night as well. And so once again, we're opening with the women on the main card. The show kicked off with the NXT Women's Championship match. Rhea Ripley defending against Charlotte Flair. Everybody coming out with their Mania attire, I might want to mention, at the Performance Center. I guess everybody got their, everybody seems to get like new gear or like fancy gear that they haven't worn before that they decide to wear for the biggest show of the year, and it makes sense. I mean,
it's Mania.
So they just
whether it be in the Performance Center, it's still Mania.
Yeah, still just given the circumstance, it had to be there. So it starts with Charlotte basically overpowers Ripley for the good beginning of this match and just chops her, and then all of a sudden Rhea hits the Riptide right out of nowhere.
That was weird. I'm like, yo, she just dropped her finisher like
for
that.
For a split second before the ref counted, I thought, like, is it going to be a squash to open this here Night 2 of WrestleMania? But it wasn't.
That would have been really wild.
Charlotte kicks out, and thank God she did, because there's quite more of a match to go over here. So they both fight on the outside, and Charlotte tosses Rhea into the ring steps. Back into the ring, Rhea does kind of take advantage and starts overpowering Charlotte, gives her a bunch of stiff kicks. Rhea goes for a submission attempt on the mat and then covers it into like a pin attempt of sorts, like a little bit of an exchange of grappling on the mat. And then Charlotte hangs Rhea's leg on the top rope and begins to get the heat, working over her leg. A brief comeback by Rhea is immediately snuffed out, and Charlotte continues to work over the leg as the match goes on. Including wrapping it around the old ring post, the old Bret Hart style of, or even Ric Flair style of just throwing the knee or whatever into the ring post. Ripley counters this and kind of gets some space. Charlotte's attack of the leg continues. That was a big portion of this match, I found, Gabe, was that it was really, really like an old school work the leg type of match.
Old school, yeah. And I liked it.
I did too. I thought it was very well put together. So this continues on for a little bit longer until Rhea is actually able to hit like this sit-out facebuster type move. It kind of like she got Charlotte in a bit of a wheelbarrow and then sat out and did the facebuster. And after that, they both get on their feet and trade shots. Again, Ripley starts giving some stiff kicks and then transitions into a drop kick. But upon delivering the drop kick, she sells the leg because it's been getting beaten up all match, and she just jumped really high and it gave out a bit. So, but she manages to fight off the pain, stays on offense with a series of clotheslines, and out on the apron, Charlotte kicks at Rhea's hurt knee once again. But then Charlotte goes for a moonsault, which Rhea moves out of the way and delivers another face buster. And then Rhea decides this is not enough, and on a hurt leg, decides to go for a missile drop kick, which gets a 2 count. A cool counter is then done by Rhea on the match. She counters one of Charlotte's attempts for a submission and gives a bunch of stiff kicks to Charlotte's head before locking her in the Prism, I believe is the name of that little, what's it actually called? The Cloverleaf is the type of...
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was at first I thought it was going to be like a weird Billy Goat's Curse, but no, it was a Cloverleaf.
Yeah, indeed. I believe she calls it the Prism. That's the name that she gives her version of it, which is kind of cool. For a while, before they gave it a name, like in December, I remember it was just like, that submission maneuver. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's got a name. So they call it the Prism now. Shortly after that, Charlotte pulls a Jericho and locks in a Boston Crab. And Rhea is able to escape, and they both trade quick pins on the mat, like 1-2. They roll into another roll-up, 1-2. It transitions here and there. A big boot from Rhea connects, but Charlotte is able to kick out. The two then get to the top rope and battle, but Rhea is sent crashing down to the mat. Charlotte goes for a moonsault, but it is countered, and well, not really quite countered. Like Rhea moves out of the way, and Charlotte lands on her feet and kind of catches her own momentum, and upon landing, decides to do a spear, and she actually catches Rhea with a spear off of landing the moonsault. The figure eight is then locked in by Charlotte, and Rhea struggles and struggles and struggles, fights and fights and fights. Charlotte bridges more and more and more, and Charlotte gets the submission victory to win the NXT Women's title for the second time in her career. I
loved how just bridging the figure eight. The more and more Charlotte was elevating her legs, you can see in Rhea's face that she was just like in so much pain. And it more and more because they worked the knee and everything. It was really well done.
It was like an old school Bret Hart or Ric Flair style match where they go for the leg, they beat down the leg, they get in the submission, and finally after fighting and destroying the leg, the submission gets them the victory after targeting the leg for the whole match. I don't know about Charlotte being NXT Women's Champion at this point in her career. Maybe if she's going back there to maybe elevate the brand by, kind of pulling a Finn Balor. I don't know if that's what they're...
I think it's a wonderful thing. Yeah, it's exactly what you just said. It's pulling a Finn Balor. Just think of how many great dream matches now there can be with Charlotte, and she's bringing the NXT name back up, in my opinion. Because if she's not going for the Raw or Women's, the Raw or the Smackdown Women's belt, she's going for NXT. What's this NXT? To the casual viewers, now you're going to see Charlotte, dish it out in NXT again and see how high caliber NXT can really deliver.
Yeah, I just don't know. It feels like Rhea just got that belt. She was just she had one title defense and was still kind of fresh, and I don't know how I feel about them.
But
taking it off so early.
I'm in for a rematch though. After that match, with Rhea, she came so close in my opinion. It's just that Charlotte's been working the leg, and Rhea could just learn from her mistakes, and then in the rematch they could just have her, have mental notes taken and then steal the belt.
Yeah, maybe they could trade title wins or something, or it could be a long program for redemption for Rhea getting her win back or whatever. I mean, there's a million ways you could take this thing.
Yeah, which is what I like the most about this.
Yeah, I still think Rhea kind of being the only NXT champion to ever compete at WrestleMania, it would have been cool for that NXT grown star to beat the highly decorated champion that is Charlotte Flair. I think it would have done wonders for Rhea, but maybe they are telling a long-term story. I don't really quite like the result, but it was a great opener to start the show, I thought.
I give this a thumb and a half.
You gave it a thumb and a half? I gave it 2 thumbs up for this one.
2 thumbs up? Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. From your negatives, it's still 2 thumbs up, so that's pretty cool.
Again, just a bad, in my opinion, a bad winner doesn't negate the work that they did before the result was given, right? So, even though I didn't like the result too much, I did very much enjoy the action. So, and I will dare say that as far as a pure wrestling match is concerned, I'm just going to go out and say it now, I think this was the best pure wrestling match of the show. Yeah, 100% it was. So that's that. And we now go on to Aleister Black against Bobby Lashley. So this was the second match of the night. So Bobby was here for the taping after all. We were unsure, but since they kept advertising it, it seemed very much that he did make it. It was just a rumor going around that he was in quarantine during it. Very much a part of the show. So they grapple a bit. Lashley overpowers Black. Lashley's then sent to the outside, and Black goes for his moonsault to the floor, but he misses and then runs right into getting suplexed by Lashley on the outside. He just tosses this dude. Lashley continues to wear Aleister Black down with some holds, get the old heat from the almighty here. Lashley continues to outpower Black at every move. Lashley hits a neck breaker. Aleister then counters Lashley's standing vertical suplex twice to gain the upper hand. So Bobby basically picked Aleister up and did that like standing thing where he just kind of holds the guy there for a while, but Aleister kind of fought out of it successfully twice until he ran into a power slam from Lashley. Then finally Bobby got his suplex in after hitting the power slam. Aleister Black then catches Lashley with a quick kick for a 2 count. Aleister with a bunch of strikes and a leg sweep, then a knee strike and a moonsault to the outside in succession. Lashley with a running cross body or like big barricade thing, kind of like a pounce. He just runs at Aleister cool. And beats him down some more. And then Lashley is basically he's beating down Aleister Black, and he's gonna hit some other move. I think he was going for the Dominator or something, and then Lana just pipes up and goes, no, finish him with a spear, or do something else, do like a move that's better, or whatever. She's saying, what you're doing is not good enough, you should do a different, more impactful move. So Lashley stops beating on Aleister Black to cockily set up a spear in the corner, and as Aleister Black gets up, Lashley runs at him, and then he gets caught with the Black Mass and pinned.
So what's the Dominator? Like, how does that go? So
he lifts the guy on his shoulder, and then, like, forward slams him to the mat. Like, he kind of lifts him up like in a gut wrench and then slams him forward. You probably seen Lashley use that move before, I'm sure, right? Like, he lifts the guy up over his shoulder, then he slams him forward. He was going for some sort of power move, and Lana said, no, a spear would be better. You should hit the spear. And so the dummy listens to her and cockily sets up a spear and got kicked for his troubles. So at least the heel was the dumbass in this finish. So I thought this was an average match. Thumbs in the middle for this one. I didn't think much of it, but it wasn't bad.
It was thumbs in the middle. It's just a regular like Raw show for me.
Yeah, it was a TV match here on pay-per-view, but I guess you could expect a lot of those with with no crowd and all that. But even if you were to factor in a crowd, I wouldn't think that much more different of this match.
Yeah, not at all. It's just a regular like, okay, it's like, what feud have they had? They've just had. They're just thrown together, and then Black Mass out of nowhere. So yeah, I mean, Aleister gets a win, which is not bad in my book.
Yeah, and I mean, technically gets a WrestleMania win, and he has been winning. I mean, they've been booking him pretty solid for the last few months. So anything,
I still respect that.
Yeah, so that's good. He's a Paul Heyman project, and Paul Heyman's taking pretty good care of him so far.
I'm just wondering what are they gonna book him for, because like he's been in the roster for a while, teaming with Ricochet and then having these weird like door promos. So it's just
he's had the unfortunate thing that they wanted him to be a tag team with Ricochet. But then they seen that there was potential in him as a single. But since
both of them. They're both like great on their own.
Yeah, so then he wanted to be on the same brand as Zelina. So they shipped Zelina with Andrade to SmackDown. So Aleister all of a sudden went to SmackDown in a superstar shakeup. And then they had him cut a bunch of promos, only to lead to him having a really good match with Cesaro last summer. And then all of a sudden he was off TV forever. And then Andrade and Zelina get sent to Raw. So, of course, Aleister Black follows Zelina back over to Raw, and they, again, for months, have him cut a bunch of promos and vignettes, and then eventually he did debut, and he's been on Raw since. But he had, like, so many stop-and-start debuts. It's like he debuted here for a while, they took him off TV. He re-debuted here, they took him off TV. It was like he, did 3 brand switches in the last year, so... this one's seeming to stick for a while, though, because at least he's been on Raw for at least, half a year now. It's more than I could say about his first Raw stint and his SmackDown stint. So, hopefully some big things for him in the future. Paul Heyman is very high on him, and it's been showing through the booking. Next match is Otis versus Dolph. And so Otis comes out, and Dolph is out. I think Dolph actually came out first, and then Otis came out. Yeah,
Dolph came out.
And then Otis just takes the fight to Dolph right away. Then Dolph hits a super kick, literally out of nowhere, and drives Otis into the ring post afterwards. Ziggler continues the offense with a drop kick, and Dolph connects with a neck breaker. He wears down Otis with a sleeper. And then Otis counters Dolph with a slingshot into the turnbuckle. Otis then proceeds to, and I'm not kidding, he proceeds to Hulk up and make a comeback with clotheslines. Like, Dolph was punching him, and he was, like, getting fired up. Every shot Dolph would hit him with, he would just, like, do the Hogan or Ultimate Warrior swinging of the arms and beating of the chest with every, like, punch and kick he took. And then he did a bunch of clotheslines to Dolph and hit him with a slam. He then steps on Ziggler's back for the old Big Show spot there, where the guy lays by the bottom rope and the bigger guy steps on, like, the spinal cord, and you hear Dolph go, "Ah!" with Otis's weight on him. And then Otis then proceeded to whip Dolph into the corner 3 times in, like, 3 different corners. And he then dumped Dolph to the outside and threw him into the barricade and then into the ring post. So Otis firmly in control of this match. And then Otis brings it back into the ring with a huge compactor slam and starts feeling it. Goes for the caterpillar dance, and then Sonya, who came out with Dolph, provides a distraction for Otis and the referee. And while the referee is back turned, Dolph Ziggler hits a nasty, nasty low blow. But then all of a sudden, Mandy's music hits, and Sonya tries to, like, I guess get forgiveness or whatever, but then her and Mandy start a brawl after Mandy just slaps the shit out of her. Somehow the ref became distracted with Otis, and Mandy snuck in the ring and gave Dolph a low blow, so I guess he reaped what he sowed there. And then Otis does the old caterpillar dance into a big elbow drop for the win. And that was that. Again, another average match on the show. I gave it very much thumbs in the middle. I expected more, and I didn't get much.
You expected more?
I did. I expected, like, maybe a little more athleticism. I expected it maybe to be a little bit more long. It's got a lot of build going into it. I thought it might have been one of those sleeper matches, but it was anything but. I don't know. You had different expectations than I did going into this thing.
I felt like this is exactly what I, like, imagine it to be. Like, it's more story driven than, you know, in-ring performance. So it's like another, I guess, like Chris Jericho, what's his name, Christian, and Trish Stratus stuff. It's, you know, the whole romance thing, and then in the end, the heel gets their comeuppance, which was what, Chris Jericho, I think. So that's Dolph Ziggler in this opinion, or in this situation, and then, you know, Otis gets the big happy kiss with Mandy, so it's just
celebrates
a moment.
Yep, celebrates with her on the ramp.
And how long has this program been going? This whole Otis Mandy thing.
I think it's been going for like 2 months, 2-3 months now.
No, this was before the year started.
I mean, since Dolph's involvement in it.
Dolph's involvement. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like overall.
Overall, it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah. So finally, you know, Otis gets the girl and they kissed and everything. This is exactly what I imagined it to be. I was really hoping that the hacker thing would be the hacker gimmick would be revealed, but no. They just revealed some weird videos.
Yeah, isn't
Smackdown,
it? It's interesting that the hacker thing is related to this storyline, because for a while it was very ambiguous. You would just see like these glitch things pop up in graphics, but we had no idea that it ended up being tied to this storyline.
Yeah, even in NXT it was showing up. It's just, I was just confused, like, who's this gonna be? Where is he gonna debut? And nothing after SmackDown, I guess. So it's still gonna go on. Maybe he's gonna be involved, or she is gonna be involved in other feuds. Who knows? But
they could keep that thing being a mystery for a while if they wanted to, I guess.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah, I mean, I'm not really surprised about the outcome or the match at all. And I did find it interesting that Sonya came out with Dolph. I mean, how long have they been, like, I guess, together as a duo?
On SmackDown this week, they appeared to have been in cahoots to ruin Otis. The hacker showed that, right? So they showed that they were in cahoots to ruin that date for Otis and Mandy. So I guess since the jig was up, they just decided to be a union. Together. Yeah, pretty much.
Interesting. Yeah. Nothing too bad. Better than the. I guess I was more invested since, you know, it's been a prolonged thing. So I was more invested than the Lashley.
Oh, that's for sure. So
program. So this is that's a thumb up, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, at least it had the right winner. I can't disagree with having Otis go over. I thought that was the right move to make. I mean, it's been a long story. You got to let the good guys win sometime. You know what I'm saying? So, like, That I found to be a positive. So then next we had the last man standing match between Edge and Randy Orton. Now this seems to be the match that everybody actually I'm the only one who has the differing opinion. Everybody thought this was way too long and drawn out, and I guess
snoozing.
I guess
Sorry.
just boring. Guess people just found it boring. But since I'm a Canadian and it's Edge's first big time pay-per-view match in nearly a decade, I paid full attention to this thing and was thoroughly sports entertained. But I know I'm the only one who thoroughly enjoyed this. I am not saying that my opinion needs to be repeated. I'm not saying my opinion is right. In fact,
that's a good thing.
You know, right? I don't need to say that. I don't need to say anybody who didn't like it is wrong. But I am well aware that I am probably the only person who really enjoyed this thing. So
that makes me happy in the end. You know, that someone was more than invested and who got a really good outcome, which is you. So that makes me a bit happy.
Yeah, so I mean, at least you found somebody who enjoyed the slog.
Yeah,
as a lot of
because
people
it wasn't bad at all. It's just it took too long. Like it took too long.
40 minutes is a long time to devote to something.
I mean, there have been matches that have been longer, but it felt quicker in the breeze. But we'll get to that. I guess we're gonna go through it real quick.
We'll get to it. So Edge comes out and he's waiting intensely. He's waiting in the ring. Randy Orton's music hits, and Edge is waiting, and Orton never comes out, but his music keeps playing. So Edge is just waiting there for him. Then all of a sudden, Orton pops in the ring and nails Edge with an RKO. Now, we didn't know where he came from at first, but they showed a different camera angle, and he was posing in disguise as a cameraman. And that's how he was able to get in the ring so fast and RKO Edge literally out of nowhere.
About, like, how he was able to, like, pull that off. Like, okay, he had to get the clothes and the camera. Like, just think about, like, the background on how he had to get in that position. Like, who did he talk to? Like, did he have to RKO someone else to get that camera? You know?
Yeah, he might have. He might have.
Or maybe that was funny. I like that.
Yeah, or maybe he punted the dude and stole his camera or whatever. I don't know. Who knows how Orton got there? He posed as a cameraman until...
Yeah, I like that start.
Yeah, was he shooting the rest of the matches before the Edge match? Like, was he just chilling there with the camera, shooting the Otis match, shooting
Who knows?
Yeah, So was he there the whole time? We don't know. But anyway, Orton then delivers another RKO in the ring, and the referee is asking Edge, like, are you okay? Are you good? Are you good? And he says, yes, I am. So, anyway, what happened was immediately after the bell rang, Orton delivered an RKO after the match became official. And then they spilled to the outside, and Orton grabs a camera. Now, if anybody knows Edge's history, and particularly his feud with The Undertaker from like 12 years ago, Edge used the camera multiple times to screw The Undertaker out of the World Heavyweight Championship. And here is Randy Orton using a camera on Edge as a offensive weapon to get the advantage on Edge and trying to beat him in his WrestleMania comeback. So I don't know if they meant for that to be kind of like a callback to a former weapon that Edge used.
So that was that's some new information.
Yeah, so like I might be the only nerd to have picked up on that. If that was even intentional, like they could have just been using a camera with no thought of Edge using it back in the old Undertaker feud, but it was something I did pick up on. So Orton continues to beat the hell out of Edge. They go backstage. They then go into a gym area, and Orton continues his beatdown of Edge. He batters Edge, and then he like. I don't know what these things are, but they were like the little like tether things that were hanging from this like gym machine.
Use that for I think gymnasts use that to do like weird like
poses and stuff and stretches. So anyway, Orton basically hangs Edge in this thing and beats him up with it.
Was he hanging him or was that a submission hold? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I mean he basically like just like tangled him in it, so he couldn't really move, so he could like just punch him. So he had him like all caught up in this gym equipment, and then Edge ends up using the gym equipment to his advantage, and he uses like the pull-up bar to like lay into Orton some kicks, and then he sits Orton in an office chair, and once again goes to the pull-up bar and lunges onto Orton with like a Rey Mysterio seated senton.
That was cool.
Yeah, that brings them to the ground. Edge talks some trash to Orton and continues to clobber him. Orton reverses Edge's Irish whip attempt into one of his own, into some lockers that were in the gym. Orton attempts to crush Edge with this weight sled, but Edge moves out of the way, and the weight sled just misses, and they begin to brawl again. Orton is slammed into a weight set. Orton then tries to run away, but Edge catches up to him, and they brawl to a completely different area of the Performance Center. Edge then slams Orton into like this garage door thing. It was like a bunch of red lighting. Like, it was like this. It'd be like a door where like a bunch of trucks would go to like unload equipment. So Orton's head gets slammed into that. The two brawl back to the ringside area, and Orton throws Edge neck first into the barricade, so they sell that. They again brawl backstage towards the backstage area again, and Orton slams Edge head first off a window, then off a wall. Edge takes advantage of a boardroom of sorts that they end up stumbling into, and Edge throws Orton onto this gigantic, like, table that I guess would be used for, like, conference meetings or whatever, like a bunch of boardroom people would sit at it. It's this big, giant office table, and Edge then climbs up on this, like, it's like the fencing you would see for, like, a cage or a fence.
He did, like, a weird, like, Spider-Man thing.
Yeah, he did, like, a Spider-Man thing where he climbed up this chain link that was on the roof or on the ceiling, and then proceeded to do an elbow drop onto Orton, who was on the boardroom table. And after this, Orton throws Edge into a bunch of different posters on the wall outside of this conference room. So you see a Night of Champions poster, Edge's head goes into it. You see a Hell in a Cell poster, Orton throws Edge's head into it. It's a bunch of these framed posters on the wall that Edge's head went and got thrown into. They then brawl into a storage room, which is where the rest of the match would end up taking place. And Edge throws Orton into a ladder. Orton suckers Edge in for a couple cheap shots and slams him off an equipment case. So many of those equipment cases, you always see them backstage in WWE, and this was a whole storage room full of these equipment cases. The brawl continues in the storage room as Orton gets the upper hand. After Edge barely survived a count of 10 from Orton beating him up, Orton, guess what, beats him up some more. And Orton stomps on the hand of Edge and just continues to brutalize him. So Orton feels he's very much in control of this match and decides to cool himself down with a water bottle. I guess he was getting a little heated through many Orton stomps and on the hand and leg. So he cools himself down with a refreshing bottle of water. And Edge then cranked Orton with a shot and hits his leg with like a sandbag or some sort of like weighted bag. And Orton goes down. Edge gets control with a kick to the gut. Both men sell the effects of their beating. They're kind of collapsing. They've been fighting forever. I like the way Edge sold his neck. He would kind of like go on all fours, hold his neck, and he would also twitch like his hands to show that if there was any feeling there. Now, again, it's effective because you know he has legitimate neck issues, and you go, oh shit, like is he really hurt? So at that point, I'm like, oh boy. And at the same time, Orton is grasping in pain, and they're both just selling the effects of a war. Edge batters Orton on a table that was in this storage room. And then Edge, fresh off his WWE 24 interview about talking how he's going to take things easy and he's not going to do crazy gimmick stuff, climbs up a ladder to the top of the shelving area and drops a gigantic elbow drop onto Orton from a very high distance. He was really high up there. That, you know, he says one thing and does another. And both men somehow, I don't know how, but they both got to their feet after that. And Orton, as the heel, tries to scurry away. And then he ends up gaining the advantage by playing possum and delivers some shots to Edge. And then Orton continues to beat down Edge with uppercuts, and then he batters him off the back of a truck. Edge is selling this beatdown big time, and he's driven into the truck some more. So every time Edge's head gets thrown in there, he kind of acts like he's half knocked out. His eyes are glazed. He gets thrown into the back of the truck again by Orton. And then both go on top of the truck, and then Orton ends up giving the draping DDT to Edge on the back of the pickup. And both men are down. They're selling. It's amazing because you believe that both guys would be tired and fucking half dead through what they've been through already. So that was at least believable to me, that they're just wincing and wheezing, and you could hear every gasp. Edge climbs up some equipment cases to get to the top of this humongous production truck, still selling his neck and checking for the feeling of his arms. And Orton slowly and in much pain follows Edge up to the production truck. And Orton seemingly has Edge where he wants him, sets him up for the classic Orton punt. And as he goes for it, he gets speared out of his boots atop of the production truck. So Edge counters the punt attempt into a spear. Both men get up right at the count of 7 out of the 10 count. And then Edge eats an RKO on top of this production truck. Orton then climbs down from the production truck as Edge barely breaks the count of 10. He got up at 9, 1 second more, and he'd have lost the match. And then Edge proceeds to collapse, and the ref begins the count all over again. Orton collects some steel chairs and brings them up to the production truck with him. He takes out Edge with a chair shot to the back. Orton sets up Edge for a concerto, which is what started this whole feud to begin with, when Orton gave a concerto to Edge the night after the Royal Rumble. And as he's setting up Edge for this concerto, he says, "Don't worry, Edge. You're going to be back with your girls soon. You're going to be back with your girls." Because, you see, Edge is not going to be able to wrestle ever again after taking this next concerto. So Orton ends up going for it, but in the few seconds that he has to raise up the chair, Edge gets him in this chokehold. It's kind of like Jake Hager's choke that he used to submit Dustin Rhodes at that Revolution pay-per-view. That standing, like, arm... I can't really describe it very well.
It's like a weird, like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to say it's a Cobra clutch, but it's
not. It's like
yeah, I can't describe it.
It's like if you bear hugged a guy's neck and arm in like the same hold. Is basically what it kind of looks like. It's like choke with holding the arm tight to a person's neck. So Edge gets that submission, and he holds it into Orton until Orton seemingly passes out. The ref begins to count, and Edge just like swears at him and tells him to stop.
Did they bleep? Is that
they did bleep it.
Okay, all right, cool. Because like I didn't know if I heard that from like my laptop or from like a TV like around my house, but no, that did come from Edge then.
Yeah, that was a swear from Edge that got bleeped. So with Orton passed out from the submission on the chair, Edge sees this opportunity and he wants to give Orton a concerto like Orton did to him. But Edge feels like this would be a horrible thing for him to do. Who knows? If maybe his family's watching, or who knows? That'd be an evil thing for him to do, and he's conflicted. And he's fighting with himself. I mean, Randy was his friend for all those years, and even though he did do something horrible to him, I don't know if Edge feels like as the person he is today, he can do something that horrible. So he fights with himself, he holds back some tears, but then he says, "Fuck it." Not really, but figuratively. And then he hits Orton with a vicious concerto. And Edge stares down Orton as Orton writhes in pain and flinches from getting destroyed. The ref counts to 10, and Edge is the winner. Again, I thought the storytelling was amazing. I thought that they used the Performance Center to the best that anybody could use it. I mean, they used the venue to the absolute max. It was like a big part of the gimmick, and I thought it added to the match. Again, that's a lot of people will disagree with me. I've heard a lot of criticism about that it was just, they said, well, thanks for the tour of the Performance Center. I'm like,
that's
yeah,
what I was thinking. You know? I feel like this entire match was to let viewers know, like, hey, this is the Performance Center.
Yeah, here's the different angles.
All our trainees come to become superstars. So other than that, it was weird that the ref, whenever Orton was gonna do something vicious, he's like, "Come on, Randy, don't do this, man. He has a family." I'm like,
yeah, and Randy doesn't.
Hell he wants to do, you know.
And Randy doesn't. I'm pretty sure he's got kids too.
Or he can do a concerto, you know. So I don't know what the ref was thinking.
I think I tuned the ref out for this match. To be honest, I think I tuned him out. I didn't notice him as much. I think I was just more focused on what the guys were doing, that I was just completely spacing out on what the ref was saying or not really paying attention. But I thought this was a great empty arena type match. I am probably the only person who's thinking that, because I've seen the people's reaction to this, and they thought it was an overly long slog that just was, I guess, a little too boring for most of their taste. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It gets 2 thumbs up from me, and I thought it was the best thing on the show.
Let's see, the match was like what, 30 something minutes?
I think it was like 40 minutes total.
Yeah, I feel like if they cut it down maybe 10 to 15 minutes, it would have, I guess, it would have delivered the same message, just saved us some time. I found it weird that they were on top of the truck in the end. Like, I thought it was gonna be a high spot where, I don't know, Edge would spear Orton off, both of them falling, and then it would just end there. That'd be a good climax, or not climax, ending. But they just ended the concerto stuff at the top, and I'm like, they would have done the same thing on the floor. So it was weird that they were on top of this weird truck. Yeah, it was too long for me. I was really, really bored. I mean, for me, I already knew the Performance Center in and out from all these documentaries and different type of programs they have on the $9.99 WWE network. So it was just a snooze for me. I can't really rate this because I was really paying attention in the end, which got me hooked back in. But 2 thumbs up for you. I'll just say it was right in the end, so I'll just say it's a thumb up. It was the right winner, right ending, and right atmosphere. Like, nothing really wrong they've done. I think Edge and Orton did a hell of a performance, but other than that, it was just too long.
Yeah, I just think it was cool that, you've seen the Performance Center, but have you ever seen it used as a weapon?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
What's his name? Ciampa and Gargano, like some NXT episode, like a couple.
Oh yeah, but they didn't go. I don't think they. I guess they kind of did go all over the building, With but it wasn't in a match. I guess it was like for a brawl.
No, it was just hectic and a brawl. But it was Triple H somewhere around there, like in an office. I don't remember.
I just remember like one of them was in a boardroom, and then. Yeah, Gargano was in the boardroom, and then Ciampa just knows he was in the boardroom and went to the boardroom.
Oh no, I meant like in this match, the
and Edge and Orton.
I felt like I saw like Triple H in the back somewhere in an office, but I don't know.
I don't know. If I didn't notice him if he was there,
I barely paid attention. I think around that time, but I thought I saw him.
Yes, I know I'm the only one that's going to give this a roaring thing of approval, but I very much enjoyed this.
Which isn't bad.
But wrestling's subjective, right? Like, we all like and dislike different things. So that was that, and we move on to the Raw Tag Team Championship match. The Street Profits taking on the quickest man to rise to WrestleMania fame, Austin Theory.
Austin Theory.
And Angel Garza. The storyline being that Zelina Vega has brought them over from NXT to be a part of her entourage since... She's brought Andrade great success. She thinks that she can also do the same for Austin Theory and Angel Garza. But really, both guys just ended up getting called up so Zelina could have something to do because Andrade either got suspended or got hurt in both.
I think he's hurt.
Well, he's hurt for the Theory thing, but he was suspended, which led to Garza being called up.
Oh yeah, that was like a while.
But what I mean is that both men benefited and got a spot because of Andrade's unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah,
so they can thank him for that.
Sucky.
So Dawkins and Ford do some team offense to Theory to start things off. Then Garza hits a super kick on Dawkins on the outside, and Garza's then tagged into the match. So then he gets in and he drop kicks Dawkins in the ring. Some nice athleticism from Theory. He does a couple leapfrogs and some nice like cartwheel and like flippy things. I mean, I thought it was kind of cool. As he does that to tag in Angel Garza back into the ring. Dawkins tags in Ford, who runs wild on Garza with a standing star press. That's always a fancy little move. DDT by Ford on Garza, which is then broken up by Theory. Ford with a dive onto Theory and his own partner. I think Dawkins got the worst of it. Yeah.
I was like, if it's a whole crowd of people, it makes sense because, a big dive or whatever. But it's just your opponent and your partner. I'm like, wow, you're going to take both.
And not to mention, it looked like he hit, like, Dawkins more. It looked like Dawkins got the worst of it. So, like, you hurt your own partner going for a fancy, like, flip. I don't know. I thought that was a little silly. But Garza funny. Then hits a moonsault on both Street Profits. So really, if you think about it, Montez Ford basically hurt Dawkins and then set them both up to get a move from Garza, if you think about it. So Garza then gets Ford back in the ring and does the quebrada, aka a springboard moonsault, the lion salt, if you will, on Ford in the ring. Dawkins tags in and pretty much gets immediately TKO'd by Austin Theory. But as Theory goes for the cover, Ford drops on top of him with a frog splash out of nowhere. And then Angelo Dawkins just rolls into the cover on Austin Theory to win, and the Street Profits retain the Raw Tag Team titles. It was a decent match with some impressive athletics, I guess. I mean, it was a fun little sprint. I gave it a thumb up to thumb in the middle. What did you think?
I mean, it's for the it's the potty break match. You can't really blame them for like how short this was gonna go, and it's just thrown in together out of nowhere, as we said before. So, decent match, and really well for what they're given. So I give them a thumb and a quarter.
Yeah.
And just great athleticism, and they were still able to, I guess, hype up the audience, when there's an empty arena.
Again.
And then what's her name? Bianca debuted.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. So Garza and Theory end up attacking the Street Profits after the match, and they beat them down a bit. And then Zelina gets in the ring and starts slapping around. I think it was Dawkins. Or maybe it was Ford. It was one of the Street Profits. She ends up just paintbrushing him with a bunch of slaps. And then Bianca Belair, of all people, comes out to make the save, and she attacks Zelina, and the Street Profits end up tossing Theory and Garza out of the ring, and they get the babyface to do the big comeback. And then Zelina Vega gets hit with a KOD from the EST of Raw now? I don't know. Maybe. Seemed like a call-up.
Well, they said she's from NXT, but, I mean, who knows, because... Austin Theory is there at WrestleMania. We all know he's not going to be on Raw, So we don't know if what's her name, if Bianca's going to stay in NXT or not. Because I think she's ready, but I think she still has some like accomplishments she needs to do in NXT, like win the damn belt, and then I think she's ready.
Right. 100%. Well, yeah, it felt like a call-up to me, but we'll see in coming weeks. And to be fair, I guess we'll get about that earlier, but I don't know what kind of programming is going to be happening. Did they tape a month's worth of stuff that can keep airing for the next couple weeks? I have no idea.
I feel like they taped just in time and just enough for WrestleMania. That's what I feel like.
So I don't know what they're going to do.
Quarantine stuff like going more rampant.
So I don't know what they're going to do. I guess we'll find out tomorrow night.
Yep.
So next was the Fatal 5-Way Elimination match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bayley defending against Lacey Evans, Naomi, Tamina, and Sasha Banks.
I had cold feet going into this. Like after that tag team match, like wow, it's another break match.
Yeah.
But, they proved me wrong.
Yes, this definitely overperformed. May I also note that even at the Performance Center, Naomi's entrance looked rad. I always think her entrance is pretty cool and
oh trippy. Yeah, one of the best entrances of this era.
So it still looked good even at the Performance Center. So I thought I'd put that over before going on. So everyone goes after Tamina, and she for a while fights off all 4 other women. Then they all take her out with a series of drop kicks. Lacey goes after Bayley. Then after she takes out Bayley for a bit, then she starts fighting Sasha. Some double team offense by Bayley and Sasha on Lacey. And then Naomi gets in there to help Lacey out. Lacey and Naomi kind of go after each other for a little while. A little babyface sportsmanship between the two of them, because every woman has a chance to win the belt, right? So they kind of go after each other before they both get clotheslined by Tamina. Tamina then again runs wild on all the women. She does like a hip attack in the corner on Lacey and Naomi, the big like what would you call that? Like an ass splash? It's like that old like Rikishi.
From who? From
Tamina? Yeah, the big the Usos do it. The person lays there in the corner and
she just like did like a hip attack.
Yeah, it's like a hip attack in the corner. That's how I classified it. So she does that to Lacey and Naomi, who are stacked up together in the corner. Tamina then beats each woman down slowly and methodically. Then she lifts Bayley up for a Samoan drop, and Sasha saves Bayley. Then all of a sudden, you see the most obscure reference ever. Team Bad is mentioned on commentary, and then they all do like a Team Bad sign. So when Sasha was first called up in 2015, she was put in a stable with Tamina and Naomi, which is so obscure that probably nobody's going to remember that in 2020, even though it was only 5 years ago. But they do like a reference to it. They all hold up like the sign. And then
it's also weird that they also called it back in SmackDown with only Sasha Banks and Tamina actually, and then Sasha Banks was like Unity, and then Tamina just like I guess did a Samoan drop, and then even Michael Cole was like, oh, trying to bring back the Unity days of Team Bad, and then
that's just
it's just weird that Tamina was the first one to bring back the Unity Fist when obviously she didn't care about it on SmackDown.
I guess maybe they thought since nobody watched SmackDown, they just got to do it again at WrestleMania.
Maybe. I just thought it was a weird callback that Tamina did it.
Yeah, it was actually that
first in SmackDown.
Yeah, well, the fact that they would call out that stable at all is just that in itself is an obscure reference, in my opinion. But they did it. And
yeah, so it was weird. It was what? It was Bad, PCB,
and then the Bellas.
Who were they with?
It was like Nikki, Brie, and then Alicia Fox was with them for whatever reason. If you remember,
that's why I didn't care. Yeah, it was those three.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad, and they tried to make it like this big female thing, and then they tried to push it, but they pushed it so corporately.
The Divas Revolution.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it was. It was a time. Thank God they got past that. But anyway, we've talked enough about the most obscure reference of WrestleMania 36. So then after this, Tamina takes out Sasha, and then she attempts to take out Naomi with a power move, but Naomi does like a counter into this like flip stunner on Tamina. Tamina then falls into the ropes, and Sasha pulls out a 619. I guess keeping Rey Mysterio in everybody's thoughts at WrestleMania. Bayley then hits an elbow drop on Tamina from the top. Sasha, with Eddie Guerrero in mind, hits a frog splash on Tamina. Lacey with her, what would you call that, double jump moonsault?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if they gave it a name, but
yeah, she does
I think it's really cool.
She does she jumps from behind and then flips into a moonsault from the top.
That takes a lot of balance too. Yeah, so I give her props every time she pulls it off. Yeah. Like, I haven't seen her botch it yet, so it's really impressive.
Mm-hmm. So she hit that on Tamina, and then Naomi hit her split-legged moonsault on Tamina, and then all the ladies together pinned Tamina to eliminate her. So that's the first elimination of the match. Bayley beats down both Lacey and Naomi at ringside, and drives them into the apron. Naomi kicks out of Bayley's pin attempt and gets beat down in the corner. A double team again from Sasha and Bayley on Naomi. Naomi gets the upper hand and nearly pulls out a double pin on both Bayley and Sasha. Naomi then counters.
Wait, that was a 2 count, which is really perplexing. Like, if you're gonna use one arm per, like, I guess wrestler, you should like divide that count of 2. So 1 count they kick out, but no, they kicked out at 2.
Yeah, they both did. Yeah. But but I guess it's kind of impressive because Naomi almost pinned 2 women at the same time.
Yeah, that would have been a first.
Yeah, but it did not happen. They both kicked out. Naomi then counters, I guess, Bayley's suplex attempt into another reverse stunner. Naomi gets Sasha in her submission. I forget what they call it.
Who, Sasha?
No, Naomi's submission. It kind of looks like the thing that like Pac uses. It's kind of like the brutalizer, but not quite. It kind of looks similar, but so she got Sasha in that, but of course Sasha's saved by Bayley. And then immediately after this, Sasha locks in the bank statement on Naomi and submits her for the second elimination of the match. And now Lacey is all alone against both Bayley and Sasha, and she falls victim to the double team. Sasha and Bayley go for a double pin, but Lacey, the superwoman, kicks out. Bayley then accidentally knees Sasha, going for Lacey. Lacey just got out of the way, and Sasha ate Bayley's running knee in the corner. Lacey almost gets a few roll-up pins on Bayley for a couple 2 counts. Bayley then gains the upper hand, but then Sasha gets in her face and is mad that she took a knee. And then during this kerfluffle, Sasha turns into a woman's right from Lacey, and Lacey pins Sasha for another elimination. Looked great. When they shoot it right and she hits it, or at least like performs it as well as it can be, that is a good looking finish at times, I think.
even a great name, Women's Right.
Yeah. But it's kind of weird because then they go for like other like worked punches that aren't as deadly, but it's still like you're doing work punch.
Oh yeah, I always disliked having a full fist being a finish, but it just I don't know, it just looks and feels right that Lacey does the Women's Right, because come on, who really likes the what weapon of mass destruction from a Big Show? Really thought that was weird, and then the chop from Great Khali. Oh.
Yeah. Lacey's it does have a good name, and it looks a lot better than those finishers, so I'll give her that much. So now it has come down to Bayley and Lacey Evans. They're the last two women in the match. Bayley continues to wear down Lacey, trash talking the whole way through. Lacey makes a comeback with a clothesline, a series of clotheslines and a neck breaker. Lacey is then driven into the ring post after this. Bayley goes into the cover, but Lacey kicks out. Bayley continues the beatdown. Bayley then does shots in the corner. Bayley ties up Lacey's arm with the tag rope in the corner turnbuckle, and Bayley beats her down in the corner while she's all tied up. Lacey then gets free and lays out Bayley with a boot. Lacey then continues to kick the hell out of Bayley. Bronco busters in the corner by Lacey. She does a handstand on the ropes and then goes into a Bronco buster. She did that a few times. Lacey then does that pretty moonsault once again on Bayley, but Bayley kicks out. And then right after this, as Lacey recovers from the moonsault, Sasha attacks her from behind with a backstabber, and then Bayley hits her finish on Lacey to win and retain the title. So I thought this was a good match. It gets a thumbs up from me, a thumb up, one thumb up. It's not like I'm going to give it a glowing 2, but it was certainly better than expected, and I had a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah, there's nothing really, I mean, I can't really take anything away from it. It's a 5-way, no DQ. You could expect anything, to be honest. I liked how every woman did look strong in the end, because, everyone had to team up on Tamina. That makes sense, because she's the biggest woman. And then, who was next? Naomi. And then in the end, it was what's her name, Sasha, and then Lacey. I did think at one point it'd be interesting if they had two heels, Sasha and Bayley, just the last two women, but I'm not surprised that Sasha got out second to last. So
what would you say your final thoughts?
I'm in a 10th.
Yeah, okay.
I give it that.
At least a little decent amount. Again, I thought I was expecting this to be the worst match of the show, and it really wasn't. It exceeded my expectations, so I found that nothing to be more than a positive. So I expected nothing and got a whole lot out of it, so I really can't complain. You know what I mean?
No, especially after all these matches, they did stand out somehow.
And in the sixth match of the night too, getting near the end of the show, and they were able to do that.
Yeah,
there was only 2 matches left at that point, which leads us to the second cinematic match of WrestleMania 2 nights, and that being the Firefly Funhouse match between The Fiend and John Cena. Now, this thing was as wacky can be, and I tried to take as many notes the best I could. So
there were a lot of good Easter eggs, and
there were a ton of them. I had a hard time keeping up with it and trying to write the things that I thought were highlights.
I remember the most out of this, to be honest. I was that invested, and then it was crazy. What's his name? John Cena came out. I texted you holy crap! It's not going to be a cinematic experience.
But it was it was a swerve. You see,
they cut to it. Yeah.
It was a swerve. So John Cena comes out, and we think he's going to do his usual hustle, loyalty, respect entrance. Then all of a sudden, it cuts out, and it looks like the film grain's running out, and it looks like it's fading away. Then it cuts to a bunch of old WrestleMania clips. This is WrestleMania, Vince at WrestleMania 3 and all this. And then all of a sudden, we see the Firefly Funhouse graphic, and the song goes on, and Bray welcomes us by saying basically that angels and monsters are one, I believe, or something to that.
I was a bit creeped out when they had that whole ass demon on screen.
Yeah,
I was they're really gonna put this on WrestleMania pay-per-view.
They did. They did. There was a red demon staring me in the face on this.
That was one of the most traumatic experiences from that match, in my opinion.
So
that's raw.
Yeah. So then Bray goes on to say that John Cena is facing the most dangerous opponent he's ever faced, and that being himself. So then Cena stands. He's just all of a sudden he's in the Funhouse, and he's frightened, and he's looking around at all the little puppets, and Rambling Rabbit shows up and tells him where the Fiend is and where the Fiend went. So, John, you got to go through the door. You got to go through the door, John. And John goes through that.
Oh, did you skip over the McMahon thing conversation at first when he was like, "Do you have the ruthless aggression stuff?"
That's coming up. That's not yet. That's coming up.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remembered it wrong.
So Cena goes through the Funhouse door, and now he's in a dark void, and he's in this dark void for a while, and then all of a sudden, Vince McMahon, the puppet, shows up and asks Cena if he has enough ruthless aggression to be a success, because if he doesn't, he will be fired. Then you wonder what the fuck that was all about. Then all of a sudden, Bray is in the middle of a ring mimicking Kurt Angle from John Cena's debut match. And Cena comes out in these goofy trunks similar to those that he had in his early days of being on SmackDown. And then Bray asks, "What makes you think you can beat me, John?" And John says, "I have ruthless aggression." And he says this like 1,000 times.
5 times.
He says it like a bunch of times in a row. And then they end up like kind of having a scuffle, and then Bray's avoiding every single punch like he's Bugs Bunny or like the Roadrunner. He's like a Looney Tune. He's just avoiding every punch. Then all of a sudden a Saturday Night's Main Event graphic appears after Vince McMahon, the puppet, and the Buzzard are on commentary. And then Muscle Man Wyatt is behind a cage cutting an 80s style promo introducing John Cena as his tag team partner, like as if they're the Mega Powers or something. And then Wyatt asks Cena what he's gonna do, brother, a la like he's like Hulk Hogan or something. It's Muscle Man Wyatt. And then Cena ends up being in his Word Life Titantron, and he's back in his rapper attire all of a sudden. And then Cena raps at Wyatt, mentioning his time as Husky Harris, and calls him a slut at opportunity, but blows all his chances. Was a highlight. Was a highlight that he basically said. And then Wyatt, in retaliation to this, plays the sob story. You know, he does like he calls Cena a bully, and says that this is absolutely John Cena's last chance. So then Cena, of course, mentions D's nuts before getting hit. Before
a classic thugonomics line to, I think, Carlito.
Yeah. I mean, it's like 04. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
So then Bray hits him with a chain. Bray is now all of a sudden in his old attire, like his former cult leader gimmick. Talking about, I love that. Yeah, it was it was an awesome throwback, and he's talking about how Sister Abigail always told him that this day would come. Bray says now is the time to rewrite his own story, and he's then back in the ring, dancing with a limp John Cena, and he goes for Sister Abigail on Cena, but Cena was able to break free. And then there's a callback to WrestleMania 30, where Bray tells John to fix the past and hit him with a chair. So it's a complete callback to near the end of the WrestleMania 30 match. Bray goes on his knees and is telling John, "Fix your past, hit me with that chair."
And then he goes for it.
And then he goes for it, and then it cuts out, and then Wyatt comes back to WCW theme and NWO stuff, and he starts gabbing off like as if he's Eric Bischoff in the 90s. And then he introduces John Cena, who comes out in NWO colors. They give each other the Wolfpack sign, and then all of a sudden Cena starts beating Bray down, but he realizes he's actually beating up that pig puppet. I forget his name. Does the pig have a name? I forget his name if he does.
I don't remember the puppets. I just know that Mercy is the Buzzard, and then Sister Abigail is the witch or something.
Yeah, and then there's Ramblin' Rabbit, and then there's
Rambling Rabbit. Yeah,
but the pig has a name too. It's the one with the chocolate on his face, and I forget.
I'll look it up for you.
Yeah, I would like to know the pig's name. Not that it's really all that important.
He's a key person.
Yeah, he's a key person in the Funhouse. That's for sure. So as we wait for the pig name, I'll kind of go off of what else happened here. So then after that, the Fiend is all of a sudden behind John Cena, and he puts him in the mandible claw for a bit. Then it plays Cena's line that he cut on a promo on either this week's SmackDown or the SmackDown before about Bray being overrated and overhyped and not worth building upon in the future. And that's played kind of over and over. And it's played as John Cena is hit with Sister Abigail, and the Fiend locks in the mandible claw after Sister Abigail is hit. And then regular Bray, Funhouse Bray, not Fiend Bray, counts the pin for the Fiend, and then the Fiend celebrates his triumph by yelling, "Let me in." Fun stuff. It was super goofy, but it was what it needed to be. I give it.
That's funny. It's Husky.
Oh, Husky. That's funny. That is kind of funny.
Husky the pig.
Husky the pig. So that's the pig's name. But yeah, it was super, super goofy. It was wacky. But like, it's everything that makes the Fiend funny. And John did a great job in it as well. I thought this was a thumbs up package.
I can tell that Bray had fun whenever he had the Ultimate Deletion with Matt, because this showed like a lot of control that Bray had in creativity. I feel like this was almost 100% Bray. All of this entire match alone. Did you talk about how Vince, the puppet Vince during the NWO segment where he went, "This is good shit"?
Oh, I completely forgot about that in my notes. Yes, I remember it now.
I was blown away because you only heard people would talk about Vince, how he would say, "Oh, this is good shit," and then they actually had that in the damn program. So that was hilarious.
You know what's funny?
WrestleMania pay-per-view too.
That came out because Dean Ambrose shot on that on Talk Is Jericho a year ago. Yeah. So to believe that they actually put that in the Funhouse package is hilarious to me. Yeah, it was during the NWO part, you say? Because I remember it being said, but I don't remember the particular part. Because this just changed scenes like a bunch of times.
Yeah, multiple times. If I'm wrong, I believe it was like during the NWO part, because I was kind of like weirded out that the Vince McMahon and Buzzard puppet were at the Nitro.
Oh no, they were not. They were at the Saturday Night's Main Event calling.
That was the good shit thing?
I think so, because that's the first time you've seen them at the announce table. So
got you.
That was that.
I don't remember well.
Well, you can kind of go on a little bit more, because this was Gabe's highlight of the night. I believe you said you enjoyed this best out of the show, correct? Unless you've changed your mind since we last talked on the chat. But
yeah, this is my favorite part of the show. I mean, like, we talked about everything. It's just a whole journey of Cena and also Bray's career throughout the professional wrestling industry. And then I liked how they also introduced Cena's journey with Vince McMahon going, "Do you have enough ruthless aggression?" Because that was John Cena's calling to the main roster. Like, hey, I have what it takes. And then obviously that's his upbringing. And then I was kind of confused at first. Like, why are they bringing up, the Saturday night set and the Nitro set? But when I was talking to my friend Kenny over there, hi Kenny, he listens to this podcast, by the way, which is amazing.
Thank you, Kenny.
Yep. He told me that the reason why, if I can remember from our conversation, he told me the reason why they brought those up is because John Cena is another big guy in the industry. Example of were they mimicking the Mega Powers in the Saturday Night set?
Well, it was like either they were mimicking the Mega Powers, Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, or they were kind of imitating the Ultimate Maniacs, which would be like the Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man.
Yeah,
it's very much like a late '80s, early '90s tag team spoof.
Yeah, because I feel like that's what Vince really saw in Cena, and then NWO. What's his name? Yeah, NWO Bischoff, he's just pushing the hell out of and then introducing John Cena from Bray Wyatt's image of him. So it's just a key imagery, I guess, on how over pushed John Cena is. I was confused personally on why they did a bunch of curls for Cena on those weights, and then he just gave out. I didn't know what that meant. So
I don't know if it meant anything. I think it was just overacting and just being cheesy, like a lot of stuff was in the 80s.
I feel like Bray meant something by that he just kept doing curls, and then gave out. I don't know. I'll give it some thought tonight, but
for now we're a little stumped.
Yeah, that's a stumper right there.
I didn't think much of it until you brought it up, to be honest. I was just like, it's a guy doing goofy. It's a guy doing goofy shit.
Because they went on about it for a good 20 seconds, the curls, 20 to 30 seconds. I'm like, wow, this is going on a bit weird, too long. Let's see, what else was pretty cool about this? I mean, yeah, the Fiend just came out of nowhere. The mandible. Oh, here's what I like the most. All right, so the mandible claw is applied from the Fiend, and then as Cena is being, I guess, choked to his death, who knows? Um, they're gonna play They played dialogue of Cena, from a couple weeks ago, where he's saying like, "I'm gonna the end the most overhyped,
Yeah, I
privileged."
mentioned that. Yeah, that they played that audio during the finish.
That's my favorite moment of it, Braden. That's what took it home.
Oh
honestly.
yeah, that made it definitive, and it showed that the Fiend won decisively.
Yeah, because this is that's not, just
You know what else I could say about it too, Gabe? It's usually a very John Cena thing to get his win back, but Bray got his win back from Cena.
Oh yeah, of course.
From the king of the guy who gets his win back. He got his win back from John Cena. So I thought that was kind of funny.
It's I mean, to be honest, even if he did get his win back, which, I mean, he didn't lose anything, it'd be weird. He wouldn't gain anything from it. So it's just a great circle of life we've come to from their last program in WrestleMania 30.
Yeah, and like they just stumbled upon having history. Like it's just like they just stumbled into a match that actually had some history behind it, that they did a callback to 6 years beforehand the first time they faced off. So
yeah, at first I was wondering, like, when the year just started, who's the Fiend gonna go for now? And especially him dropping the damn belt. Okay, now who's face? Are they just gonna push him on the side?
The Fiend was sacrificed.
I feel like Cena was the perfect opponent for this year's WrestleMania, especially with the circumstances.
They
wouldn't have done this
if
it wasn't for the Corona, and it's a beautiful masterpiece from Bray. So, 2 thumbs up, a third if I had another hand. So
wonderful. That's a more thumbs up than I even gave my favorite portion of the show. So outstanding review from Gabe on the Funhouse match. So that's awesome. I wonder if you also enjoy the Funhouse match. Do comment below your thoughts on it. Would be wonderful. And even any of the other matches on the show. So now we go to the main event, which was the match I was looking forward to most out of the entire Mania card. It's Brock Lesnar defending the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre. The two come out, they have their usual entrance, and they trade blows back and forth right out of the gate. They start hitting each other with some Haymakers, and then Drew claymores Brock right the fuck out of nowhere, and Brock kicks out. So then Drew goes for another, but Brock gets out of the way, and then Brock begins Suplex City. Drew desperately tries to hang to the top and middle ropes, but every time he goes to hang onto the rope, Brock overpowers him and forces him to the mat with a German suplex. And then Brock hit an F5, and Drew kicked out at 1. 1, not even 2. Brock hits an F5, and Drew McIntyre kicks out at a 1 count. That was impressive. Brock then immediately hits a second F5, but Drew kicks out. So Paul just says, keep hitting him with it. So Brock goes for a third F5 and hits it, and Drew once again kicks out. Brock laughs at Drew and taunts him a bit, and hoists him up for another, but Drew's able to escape the shoulders of Lesnar and uses his momentum to connect with another Claymore. Drew then waits for Brock to get up and hits him with a third Claymore of the match, and then Drew sets up for the big final 4th Claymore. He hits it to win the title in a match that was good, but it was short. It wasn't long enough to be anything great, but it certainly...
This was the shortest match on the card.
Yeah, believe it or not. The match I was looking forward to most was the shortest match of the show. It was basically...
shorter than the pre-show. Holy shit. It's like 4 minutes or something.
Yeah, so it was good, but it was short. It had the right result. It gets a thumb in the middle to thumb up for me. I guess a thumb up for Drew winning his first world title. But like I was hoping for like chops and long beatings and like Drew kind of getting beat down for a while, then making like the big babyface comeback. But it was basically it was like the Goldberg Braun match, but with better athletics behind it.
Yeah, I feel like it was the exact same thing, but with extra like steps in a good way.
Yeah, like the athleticism was better, the moves looked more real, like everything looked better, and the athletes were giving it better, and like everything was performed better, is what I'll say. Like Drew and Brock are much better workers than Braun and Goldberg are, right? So
yeah, whatever, they had more emotion into it too.
Yeah, so that, as I said, it was good. I enjoyed it for the whole 4 minutes it was, but it was just too damn short to be anything other than just good.
I feel like. Do you think they would have been longer if there was a crowd, Braden?
I think it would have been structured different. I think there might have been a longer Brock beatdown where the crowd just boos and says same old shit, and Brock laughs at them and does the whole thing where he stomps on the hand or just does, or if he lifts him for an F5 and says, go home, or good night, everybody, and he hits it, and then Drew would kick out of that F5, and then Brock would look shocked, and then he'd go for another one, and then maybe the comeback would happen. I think it would have been structured different, and maybe it would have been a little longer with a crowd. I think it would have been a little longer with a crowd, but we'll never know. It's a big what if now.
Let's see. I mean, like, it's a good match. It's Drew's biggest moment, and I like how he just trying to put a smile on his face. I can tell he's like a bit hurt. You know, there's no crowd. He even looks at the camera and says, "Thank you, and I'm like, wow, I really feel bad for this man. He really deserves a crowd for this big monumental win. I didn't know how to feel about this like moment for him.
No, but it needed to happen. Vince wanted to do this. He wasn't gonna postpone the show, and this was the reward for this long angle of winning the Rumble and going on to win the title. Like, it's a shame that it had to be in front of nobody, but it is what it is.
Indeed. I'll give it a half of a thumb, or because you know it should happen. You know, all this was gonna happen in my book. It's just, what can you do? You know, we will never know, like, if it would have been better or not in front of a crowd. So
I'm going to be
circumstances that's ruining it for me.
So lastly, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to be the controversial one here and say that WrestleMania Night 1, shockingly, was the better night of WrestleMania. Night 2 had its moments, but I thought it was a weaker show as a full-on package than Night 1 was. I thought this was the weaker of the two parts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like if last night was very good, this was okay.
Yeah, I feel like, didn't you say that there was more of a big match feel to this before we got to the show?
It felt like these were the matches that they took more seriously and felt were more important, so they saved them for Night 2. But it's not like it didn't click and flow as well as Night 1 did. You know, some stuff dragged on too long. Some stuff felt out of place. Like, it felt, even though there was some bigger stuff that happened, as a full package, I don't think it was, the presentation and flow was nowhere near as good as last night was.
I can agree with that 100%.
So do you remember the thumbs we gave for Night 1? Did we give it 2 or did we give it 1?
We'll have to look back. I'll just say,
because I give this thumbs in the middle for an overall show. Well, thumbs in the middle.
If you can, review Night 1 now, what would you give it?
Oh, I'd give it like a thumb up or a thumb and a half for sure. Like a thumb up to thumb and a half, and this gets about midway for one thumb. It's about thumb in the middle. Complete thumbs in the middle show. So
yeah, Night 1, I'll mirror you. Night 2, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess a half is good as well. So I'll just mimic you right there. Would you say, did you rate the entire show?
You got to look at it as two halves, right? Like, it's hard to kind of, because like one show had a beginning and an end, and the second show had a beginning and an end. So to me, I just look at them as two separate pay-per-views. Yeah,
but you know, it's still WrestleMania, Braden. So
I mean, as an entire package, it would just still be very good.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, even if you added, like, if you mixed up the best stuff from Night 1 with the best stuff from Night 2, it was never going to be a great pay-per-view. It was never going to be pay-per-view of the year, one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. It was just a solid, very good show. They did the best with what they had, and that's got to be counted for something.
Is an entire show, I'd give it a singular thumb. I feel like that it balances out very well.
Yeah.
The positives and negatives. Oh my god, I look back at last night. What a great amount of like wrestling like content we got, excluding the Intercontinental IC match. I can't forget that one in a way. But just from the great I guess the great Boneyard match that we had, and then the one of the best ladder matches from WrestleMania in a way. And then there's Owens and Rollins in Night 1. And then we're just going to go to, I guess, you know, the Bray Wyatt, John Cena stuff. I mean, I guess for you, it's the Edge and Orton stuff.
And then not really much. And the women's opener was great.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So like those
good
were
match as well.
But still, I would say night 1 had 3 highlights, whereas night 2 for each of us only had like 2 highlights. So we still agree that we had much more fun with night 1 than night 2.
Oh yeah, a hell of a lot more fun in night 1. Night 2, what really lost me, I'm sorry, Brandon, it's Edge and Orton. That's what really lost me.
It's fair. Wrestling is subjective, my dude. Everybody's got different opinions on stuff. And so now that's basically our review for the show, and it might be our last pay-per-view review, at least for a while, considering everything that's going on in the world. But to you, Gabe,
because,
I know...
what's it called? Money in the Bank is about to... I think that's postponed again, right? Or is
they haven't. They were advertising it still to go in May. They were
Oh, really?
They advertised it tonight. Yep. I doubt it.
Wow.
I think it's probably going to get canned, but we'll see.
It's going to, no matter what, because this Corona stuff is not halting or getting any better.
It's not leveling out at all. So it's probably going to get canned, which means Double or Nothing is probably going to get canned too, or postponed. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. That's supposed to be happening at the end of May as well. Like Memorial Day weekend, I think, is when they had that AEW had that pay-per-view booked. So for the shows that I had thought about predicting, both of them supposed to be happening in May, I don't think they are going to happen. So this could be our last pay-per-view review for a bit of a haul. So hope you enjoyed it. And now I will leave the floor to Gabe to plug whatever he wants to do on what could be our last podcast for a little bit. So the floor is yours, Gabe.
Good old YouTube channel, Nozid, Nozid, and if not, or as well, join my Instagram, Twitter at Gabe Nozid, because who knows it? Gabe knows it.
Excellent. So, as said, I was told by one of my buddies that there's another podcast distributor. I forget the name of it, but he sent me the link to it last night, and I'm going to look into it to post the shows, both nights 1 and 2 reviews there. But most likely you probably are going to see this on YouTube. So if you did enjoy this and you watch the show and you're a subscriber of mine, please comment on your thoughts on night 2. And it would be wonderful if you did watch night 1 to also post about your thoughts on night 1 and the night 1 review that's also been posted. And if you happen to just be scrolling through reviews and jumping from one review to the other and you happen to find this video and you liked what you heard, do give the channel a nice little subscribe button. The Bracer would always love another long time listener of this here Apron Bumps podcast. So that is it from me. And
Brain, you forgot. Whoa. You forgot another title change once again.
Oh, you want to mention Gronk's big win? Okay.
The Gronk is 24/7 champion. Oh my god, he's gonna be a world champion one day. Watch this, Braden. He winning the 24/7 title on his second night?
Yeah.
Or is it third night? Whatever.
Well, yeah, he had that one night on Smackdown. And
yes.
Yeah.
Yo, Gronk has a great future.
I told you. Did we not mention in the first review that he was going to win that title by the end of the 2 nights? I'm pretty sure we mentioned that. So.
Oh my. He did a dive from the damn balcony, and then Titus took over. That was funny.
Yeah. So. Gronk winning the title meant less of his obnoxious personality on my TV screen, so I'm glad with him winning the title. Whatever. It's just like. Whatever. So that's pretty well it for this here review. Hope you enjoyed it, and much like John Morrison, Sammy Guevara, and a lot of other people that have had a career in AAA, we are going to Spanish fly on out of here.